What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about a handful of Grayscale trusts today. We're going to talk about ETCG and MANIA at the request of Today is the Best, Hzen for Brian Mirko, LTCN for Flower Child, and BCHG for Flower Child. Then we're going to talk about ZCSH for Cow and G-Soul for The Determined. So that is 7 different Grayscale trusts. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't. Let's get into it. Yeah. All right, so ETCG, and there's something. Who was it? Honey Hassan. Shout out to Honey Hassan. He was asking a question last night in the Discord, and I want to address it later. But it's essentially, and I'm sure it's on a lot of people's minds, and it's a logical question I think to ask: is what's going on with G-Soul, the potential of the Solana ETF getting approved, which I think it's more than just potential at this point. I think it's a likelihood. Is that affecting other Grayscale trusts? And in short, I'm going to answer yes. I think it is right now. Will it affect them throughout the rest of the cycle? Yes and no. Probably no for most of them. Maybe yes for a couple of them, right? But maybe not. I don't know. We'll talk more about that when we get to LTCN and BCHG, because those are the ones that I think are the primary concerns, genuinely. But we'll go over that whenever we get there. Anyways, ETCG, high to low, 0.5 down to the 236 area. Not a whole lot of respect on the fibs, not the kind of respect I'd like to see. So maybe we'll just throw that out. That's okay. We'll look at the low to the high. There you go, holding support on that 0.5 again. Okay, so you do like your 0.5. That's notable, I guess. A couple times there, right? Back-to-back fibs on significant kind of highs and lows. I don't think that's a coincidence. It could be, but monthly RSI does look bullishly postured. It definitely does. I think that you are about to go on a run. I would assume, as bullish as this run was, you're going to go on one that's either very similar, if not more bullish. Just eyeballing it roughly, something around $50 makes sense. That is your kind of previous areas of resistance. I would wonder if we look at a relative high to low fib here, if anything comes around that $50 area. 46.57, 52.15 at that 1886 200 area. That's a pretty common area for a lot of stocks and cryptos these days. I don't know. You could only go to the 1618 1272. That is possible, but I think you do go deeper. Time will tell. Something around $50 is what I would say. Something really, to keep it simple, between this weekly closing like high over here and then yeah, maybe here, maybe in this zone, maybe you go higher. I don't know. Okay, so 40 to $50, something like that. Maybe you go higher. I don't think it's going to be the end of the cycle. It could be. But you might have like a little bit of consolidation and then one more move up. With this amount of time, that'd put you in April of 2026. So obviously it would happen faster than that. But time will tell. I don't know. Maybe this is your cycle high. It was last cycle after all, and the cycle before. But you do look like you're moving up higher. That much I feel confident with. Weekly RSI getting above the 50, volume increasing, nice week, 15% up. Daily RSI looking bullish as well. Yeah, I think you continue to move up. Basically 40 to $50 is what I would be expecting. Over the months, over the days, over the weeks, look for 1325 to 1423, probably by the end of this month, if not earlier. But yeah, that's ETCG. MANIA is the next one, MANIA Grayscale Trust. This is one of the few Grayscale trusts that I'm actually kind of, I've flirted with the idea of buying into. I won't buy any Grayscale trust, right? And I think the answer as to why that is that I won't buy any, I think that's a little bit more apparent now than it ever has been. But simply because I trust the underlying assets more than I do trust human beings to be in charge of my money. That's why I don't like the idea of, because this is what I've said, right? To keep it even more simple than that, right? Someone told me this, and it's been true in every aspect I can think of, right? No matter what it is. If it's leverage trading, if it's options trading, if it's trusts or ETFs that promote leverage on their ETFs, whatever, if it's some form of a derivative, any derivative that exists in the financial game, any derivative at all from the underlying asset is always more risky. Always. Always, always, always. because it not only depends on the underlying asset, which already has risk implied to it, but now you're also depending on the people handling whatever the derivative is. There's always added risk. Even if it's the most safe and sure, secure kind of concept of a derivative, derivatives always have more risk. And whenever you're investing, whenever you're putting money in that you're trying to change your life with or build a future from, you should try to minimize risk. And this is something that somebody with more experience taught me, was that the best way to minimize risk when investing in this game, which has a bunch of risk, avoid derivatives. Just avoid them. Avoid them like the plague, because they essentially are. But the Grayscale trusts, again, they are derivatives, but they're a little bit different. They're a little bit less risky, right? And especially, I think, MANA. Obviously ETH and Solana being on the chopping block for ETFs, those had a little added risk to them for sure. And now I think that risk rolls over to the next ones on the block, which is BCHC and LTCN. But we'll talk about that in a second again, right? MANA, finding support time and time again off the 61869. There's a reason why I would be curious to buy this one compared to some other ones. It's because I'm very confident in the underlying asset. I'd also be very confident that this one does not see an ETF being proposed this cycle, right? I think MANA is going to go ballistic. It's going to see new all-time highs, right? If this is what you did already this cycle with MANA being boring, so boring, what happens when MANA's at new all-time highs, dude? Like, you're at 751. I have no doubts if MANA goes up in an appropriate amount of time, that when I say MANA, I mean Decentraland, the crypto. I'll always, if I'm talking about the Grayscale Trust, I will specifically say that, okay? If I'm saying MANA by itself, I don't mean this. I mean the underlying crypto asset, okay? In case anyone's been confused by that at all. I will always specify the Grayscale Trust. I normally just say MANA when I'm referring to the crypto, right? I get why it can be confusing, okay? I get it. But that's how I'm saying it. Right here, I forget where I was going. I think I was going with something like this, but I don't remember the exact train of thought I was having. That high happened back in March. Decentraland, right? The crypto back in March. This was the high back in March here, okay? From the current price that we're at to that high, that's 828%. To that same high price, that's 148% away, okay? So you move up 148%, you're going to move up 828%. Underlying asset versus the derivative versus the Grayscale Trust, okay, right? That's where you were at a 9.3x from the current price, 751, all the way up to about $70. That's where you were when MANA was at the top of this range. I'm expecting MANA to see new all-time highs, okay? That's where you were at 148%. You're at 828%, right? That's where you were there. Where the hell are you going to be when you're up here? When I say MANA's got 100x, but when I said MANA, and I actually meant the Grayscale. When I say the Grayscale Trust MANA has 100x potential in it, it doesn't even stop there. Like, it could be a lot. There's a reason why out of all of them, and it's taken some time, right? These lows, I haven't talked about it because I didn't know if it would keep going down. MANA was underperforming, kind of, right? I haven't really talked about the Grayscale Trust MANA like this at all. But now I'm with this higher low coming in, with this volume coming in, and you're not doing anything but forming higher lows. I'm more confident than ever that not only will you see new all-time highs, but you are going to smash it. I bet this one has a really good chance, out of all the Grayscale Trusts we talk about, to be a top performer. Now, I say that, and I can hear everybody's little ears going, ding, 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 I got a winner. Stop it. Just stop it, okay? Maybe a little bit get into it, right? Don't throw the farm at this, right? You never know. You really never know, right? This is all resting on the shoulders, on the idea of MANA seeing new all-time highs, right? If it doesn't, if it's a dud, even if it breaks out of here and it doesn't see new all-time highs, you're still going to see this thing see new all-time highs, relatively speaking. But the idea of it seeing a 100x or more, that is very much dependent, I think, on this seeing new all-time highs. Okay, that's genuinely my opinion. So even then, even if it doesn't see a 100x from the current price, your odds of seeing a 18x pretty good, a 45x pretty damn good, I would say, for the Grayscale Trust MANA, right? But those ridiculously higher targets, they're not guaranteed. They are there, they do exist, and they exist because I think the underlying asset MANA is going to see new all-time highs this cycle. But these crazy targets rest on that idea, right? With MANA itself going to the highs that I think it's going to go to, I mean, those are going to be crazy gains in itself too. I don't know. Obviously, any gains reflected in the underlying asset are going to be a magnitude higher here. I'm just trying to advise caution, or I'm trying to sound uncertain. If I sound uncertain, good. I've done my job. If I'm throwing any uncertainty your way, it's only because I've, up until this point for this whole MANA segment, I feel like I've made it sound very certain that this thing is going to do well, and I'm very confident in it. I really am confident in it, but I was confident in G-Sol, right? And then something happened because it's a derivative. Humans interfered, and that tarnished the price, the overall growth expectations. Now, that same thing probably won't happen with MANA, but you never know. Some other things could happen. Shady stuff could happen with Grayscale. You know, they could mismanage funds. I doubt they do, but you never know. You never know, right? And with that risk factor of you never know, if you can make a lot of money, if you could 100x this, right? Why put a lot of money into it? Put a little bit of money into it, turn it into a lot of money. It's a lot less risky, and it's just as rewarding, I promise you. Obviously, it's not going to be just as rewarding if you put your whole life savings in this thing and it does 100x. Obviously, that's going to pay you off more than if you just put a little nibble in here. But I'm just telling you, man, it's in this game, you got to have good risk management, okay? You've got to. You've got to. So if I threw off anybody, if I added any uncertainty to the idea of buying MANA, good. I wanted to do that. But to be very clear, to be very plain, to speak as genuine as I possibly can, out of all the Grayscale trusts, this is the one that entices me the most, and that's because I see it probably growing the most by the end of this cycle. I think that it has the least barriers to entry to new all-time highs, and not just new all-time highs, but prices that are dramatically higher than where you are now. You genuinely could see this thing do like a multi-100x by the end of the cycle. Multi-100x. If 10,000 is a lot of money to you, $10,000, put 1,000 in here, put 1,000 in there, 10% of that. And if it does a 200x, you got 200,000, right? If 10,000 was a lot, you're going to make 200,000. That's a lot, right? Off of just 1,000. But if you put 10,000 in here, you put your full 10,000 in here, and then it only does a 20x, 30x, cool. Well, actually, if you put a full 10,000 and it does a 20 or 30x, you're actually getting the same numbers, if not more, to be completely fair. I don't know. I'm not making a good case. I'm falling off the wagon with the argument. Don't put all your money in this thing, damn it. Please don't. Please don't. Because as truthful and honest as I'm being with the idea that this thing is going to grow phenomenally, just watch a bunch of people get all excited on that note, get in, and then it just flops. Like, you never know, right? I'm very confident in the underlying asset. That's what makes me confident here. But it doesn't matter, right? Sometimes the underlying asset can go up and these things can tank. Solana, G-Sol, perfect example, and we'll get to that. But I've spent more time on this part than I needed to. I'm sorry. Hzen is the next one. Can I go back? Can I just go back real quick to MANA? Okay. I do think that's the low. I think it's a higher low. I think that's the low right there. I think you're moving up, and your next target area is 26 to 31 bucks, right? Yes, I think you're going higher. Yes, I absolutely do. But this is your next target area, right? Like this was your last target area, then you pulled back. Next target area, then you pull back, right? And on your way you go. Okay. Okay. Hzen. Looks like it moved up. Looks like it consolidated. Looks like it broke out. And now it might be back testing this diagonal line on the way down. Looks fine. Yeah, weekly bearish engulfing candle down 29%. Not a whole lot of volume, though. I'm not worried about it. Really, from a relative low to a relative high, you're right above dude, you're right at your golden ratio. Perfect. Literally perfect. Good job. Couldn't ask for better. The only actually thing that I could ask for that would be better is if you can get above the 382. Get above there. Get above $3.88. Close above there any given day. Any given week especially would be great, right? You do that, solidifies this, or at least it makes it look really good in my opinion that this is a low. Normally, when you bounce off the 618, you either find resistance at the 0.5 and then you go lower, or at the 382 and then you go lower. Being that you already closed right back at the 0.5, I would think your only barrier would be the 382, so close above $3.88. You can find resistance and still find support at the 0.5 and then move higher. That can happen. It's not devastating if you find resistance here, but when you break above it, it's very vindicating, validating that this is the low. So do that. Do that. I think you could. Oversold, right at that oversold area on your daily RSI, an area that you've bounced right off of before, right, in history. You absolutely could do that right now. Right at your golden ratio. It makes sense, man. What a positive reaction you have. Weekly RSI might look bearish. And in fact, it is actually. The weekly RSI is the only RSI, in my opinion, that looks trashy. Because the 3-hour looks ready to go up. Daily looks like it's in a good position to go up. It actually doesn't look the best, to be fair. Both other things considered, it looks fine. The weekly's the only one that doesn't necessarily look the best, but you are at an area that you found support before and resistance before. I don't know. I think it's fine. I think you'll move up. And when you move up, high to low, I think we can look at that, man. Tipped the 618 here, tipping it there for support. Obviously, this is the 236. The 618 that you tipped for support is this low to this high here. Okay, different fib scale, but 618 support there, 618 resistance there. That's just beautiful. Respect, man. Yeah, next target when you do move up, 745 to 873. I don't think you blast through 873. I think you at least go somewhere in this zone, find resistance, probably pull back to your 618, and then you move on up from there. Okay. Yeah. And it's probably dependent on Zen itself. This is going to be my last video for the night. People are going to be pissed. I got so many requests, you guys. I just can't do them. I can do them, just not all at once. And I will do them, just not all at once. Yeah, Zen looks ready to go, man. Up over the past couple days. HZen, you'll be due for a move up, I think, during the new week. You guys, this is how it happens, right? And it's very inconsistent. I feel like as soon as people catch on, this is a nice nugget of information I'm about to throw you, okay? This is from years of experience in the crypto markets, okay? So pay attention, genuinely. Anybody that's like skipping through the video, they won't even be sorry because they're not going to know they missed this, but I'm going to forget what I'm even talking about if I just keep going. When you notice crypto moving up over most of the time, what people will say is that the weekends no moves happen, right? Or if you move down during the weekends, that means you're going to move up starting Monday. If you move up during the weekends, you're going to move down, right? The weekdays, especially the early of the week, corrects for the weekend, right? If you don't know that, that's kind of the general assumed process most people have for crypto and Bitcoin most of the time. But there are those of us who have noticed that in these bullish times, when Bitcoin's moving up, when crypto's moving up, you'll see the weekends push, and they won't grow, they won't blow up. Sometimes maybe, but they'll push a little bit higher, right? On your Fridays, your Saturdays, your Sundays, you'll push a little higher, and then most people will think, okay, they moved up over the weekend. Now it's time to move back during the weekday, move back down, and then we'll move up. Then the weekday comes on, and we really break out. So. Not saying that's guaranteed to happen here. It doesn't have to happen, and it's less common to happen. But those things do happen. They do occur in moments like this, when Bitcoin's in price discovery, when the whole market is on this bullish like thread of a horizon that we're about to cross over. You know, I don't know if those are the right words to use or not, but I'm just saying. Yes, it's moved up over the weekend. Normally, I would expect you move down going into the week, but I don't know if I'd expect that. I would expect this continues, right? Maybe it stalls in the beginning of the week, but I don't think you'll have a serious correction. I don't think so. But it's going to continue soon, and you've moved up already throughout the weekend, so I would assume this does move up as well. I don't think HZen would be on the chopping block for getting an ETF approval, but you never know. I don't know. Maybe there's something more than meets the eye with Zen itself, the underlying asset, but I don't think it would look like this if that were the case. I do think it's going to move up. I think Zen will do well. I think it's got a lot of growth to do in this cycle. I just don't know if it's if it's ETF worthy right yet. We'll see. Grayscale has said they would make all their trust ETFs if they could. They've said that, right? So just so you know. Brian, I'm sorry. You're asking for potential highs of the cycle and when we could expect them. Well, when is maybe an easier question than the potential highs. And even that's not that easy, to be fair. But high to low, potential projected highs and you are respecting your golden ratio, holding support on the 0.5, I think anywhere from like $100 to 470 on the table by the end of this cycle. I think so. When is that going to be? I'm going to guess for HZen, not for Zen itself, because this is what I think about a lot of these Grayscale trusts. And I could be wrong. This could be completely wrong. But going off of last cycle with BCHG and LTCN, they topped off 5 months before the underlying asset topped off. Right? I don't think that that's going to happen with any of these Grayscale trusts this cycle. I don't think any of them will top off 5 months before the underlying asset does. I think they're going to top off closer. You know, maybe within a month, maybe a 3-month period at the most, but I think like a month or less, maybe even weeks. Okay, they're going to top off before still is what I'm expecting. Watch them top off after. You never know. But the expectation would be they top off earlier, just in a less amount of time. Not 5 months this time. I'm thinking a month or less. So if I'm expecting crypto, the majority of crypto to top off in October, November of next year, 2025, that means that there is going to be a handful of cryptos that top off before then. Right? Not all cryptos every cycle make it to the end of the rally with the rest of the coins. Some coins blow off and finish off first, and that's fine. Could Zen be one of those? That's an important question to consider. So if I consider most of the market is going to top off October, November, then at a month earlier or less, then that would give HZen a topping off period of September, October. But if Zen is one of those cryptos that doesn't top off with the rest of the market, it tops off earlier, then potentially you wouldn't see HZen top off in September, October. Rather, sometime closer to like May or June is what I would think. Earlier in the year, that halfway point of the year. So hard question to answer either way. But these prices do completely depend on what Zen does itself, right? And it's looking encouraging. Okay, it's looking pretty encouraging. You're at 836 right now, dollar-wise. HZen itself in March went all the way up to 1045. You're at 345 now. And Zen was at 1852, right? So it doesn't even have to move up. Like it has to move like 100 and something percent, not too far away from where, I mean, that is pretty far, but not too far away relative to the trust itself. Whenever this thing breaks out of this range here, whenever it does start to move up and you see a general retracement of this overall move, which I think you will get, right? You've moved down, you've rounded out your low. Now I think you're going to recover. And oftentimes in situations like this, you recover faster than when you came down. So when you do recover, I would expect that this thing sees higher prices than it ever has before. Where's it going to stop? It's hard to say, right? I don't think you stop at 100, but maybe you stop at 200. Maybe you stop at 470. You genuinely could go higher, but I have a hard time believing you go to 1600, right? You're at 345. I have a hard time believing you go to 1600, right? 100x is already crazy, but I think you could do 100x, even a multi-100x from here. But that's HZen, okay? HZen, it's crazy. I keep looking and I'm like, all right, now we're talking about LTCN. All right, so LTCN, MBCHG. Now that we're here, I just want to talk about it. I want to get it out of the way. Same kind of message I was saying to Honey Hassan last night. Shout out to Honey. I do think that the Solana, the G-Sol ETF proposal, right? I don't know if Grayscale, I would assume Grayscale's proposed it. Here's something I want to say real quick, guys. I don't know everything. I'm not a psychic. I'm not a prophet, okay? But I'm not a bully either, okay? But I'm also not somebody who tells you what you want to hear. I tell you what I think is true, okay? But I'm not trying to bully you by saying what I'm about to say. There's a few of you, more than a few of you even, in my comments recently from my last Grayscale video talking about this. And at the end of it, I was saying abandon hope with this, right? And I think some of you showing support, being nice, right? But still at the same time protesting the kind of language I used or the message that I put out there at all. Some people running the narratives of there's a big whale that had some G-Sol locked up. It got unlocked, so they just sold it all off at once. You know, blah blah blah. Like all these narratives that you guys were spinning, and there's more than just that. But I'm drawing a blank, honestly. But I know there's more than that. All these narratives are just reasons to keep people in. I want to tell you guys what the narrative is right now, because there's an old saying that says, show me the charts and I'll tell you the news. The narrative right now is that G-Sol is going to be converted into an ETF. It is. It's a trust right now. It's going to be converted into an ETF. I don't need to look at the news or talk to anyone from Grayscale to know that that's what's happening, right? When I made the call, we were at 130, just below 130, at like 128, 129, okay? I was saying this is going to return to NAV price. And it's not that I'm a genius for making that call. And it's not that anybody who doesn't see it returning to NAV price is not a genius or the opposite of genius. That's not what that means. That just means people who are not invested in this have no emotional attachment. It's an unbiased opinion based off of reality and experience. And people who are invested in this, who are a part of this tragedy of a price, like if you never have experienced this before, you're probably new to trading, you're new to investing, because everybody's going to experience something like this. It happens. You put your feelers out there. You never know the future on anything. Shit happens, man. It really does. If you've never had this happen to you, I wouldn't say that you're lucky. I would say you're just not experienced, right? But again, going back to the point that I'm alluding from, there are people who are invested in this right now who have emotional attachments, which prevents the logic, the clear logic that this thing is trying to tell us right now in the charts, that it is going. Again, you don't have to be a genius to see that it's going to return to NAV price, right? But again, that doesn't make you an idiot for not seeing that. That just makes you probably emotional. And I would think anybody who has hope, I don't get how you could have hope looking at this. And again, I'm not trying to be a bully. I'm being direct with you. I don't know how you could have hope on this, man. It's undeniable. It's undeniable, at least in my opinion, that the Solana ETF won't go through. I don't think you get this kind of price action if there's anything other than that happening, right? It's certain. It's very, I would say like 90+% chance it's going to happen. But this is different. This is not the same as this over here, okay? This is not the G-Sol part. It's supposed to be the LTCN part. I need to take a breath. Hold on, guys. Yeah, I hit my inhaler. Breathing's hard sometimes, guys. I do it for hours at the end of the day. That's what this is, right? It's not the G-Sol part. I just got distracted with a thought. Because I meant to include that, right? Because there's too much hope. There's too much hope. And I really thought I did a good job, and I think a lot of you accepted it. But I didn't do a good enough job because there's too much hope in the comments. When I was making the call at 130 that this thing returned to NAV, which is I think at like 73 or $76. There's too much hope, even after this drop, that things are just going to go back to normal. That you could somehow recover miraculously from this, and then the cycle's going to continue as per usual. It's not like that. Your money will come back. I have the utmost confidence, you guys, that from the beginning of this week here, the beginning price was at 356 basically. I have the utmost confidence by the end of the cycle, yes, that's going to come back. But this is not the end of the cycle. This is like a 2-week, 3-week venture, right? End of the cycle is like out here, right? And it might look just like that. It might take longer, but it's going to take time. It's going to take time, but it's going to be based on Solana itself because it's going to be driven. It's going to be an ETF driven to that. But I'm getting away from the point here, right? LTCN, if we think about the ETFs that have been approved, Bitcoin was the first one. Ethereum was the second one. Obvious that Bitcoin would be the first one. Obvious that Ethereum would be the second one. The not so obvious thing was the third one, right? But Solana kind of makes sense out of all of them. Out of all the Grayscale trusts, Solana makes sense that it would be the third one, right? Now that the reality has set in, and that's where I got distracted, I think, is that you can't, I don't think you can make the argument that this ETF isn't going to go through. I think it says it all in the charts right here, right? Now that there's no G-Sol in your way with a higher market cap and more price growth this cycle, more attention on it this cycle, now that G-Sol is being converted to an ETF, the next one's on the chopping block as far as a Grayscale trust goes, in my opinion, it's undeniable, would be LTCN and BCHG, right? They're not going to approve ETCG for an ETF. Wait, right? It's ETCG. Yeah, Ethereum Classic. They're not going to approve HSEN or FileG or MANA, right? Nothing like that for an ETF. before LTCN and BCHG. There's no way. And I don't think either of these, I don't think LTCN or BCHG will see ETFs being promoted, filed for, or approved this cycle. But I didn't think that with GSOL either, right? And people have on my channel posted comments saying that they've talked to Grayscale people, and they said they were doing no more ETFs this cycle. Recently said no LTCN or BCHG ETFs this cycle, which I can believe, right? And maybe when they said no ETFs, maybe they didn't mean SOL, maybe they just meant for LTCN and BCHG. If you're one of those people that commented this, I want you to understand I'm not targeting a specific person. There are several people who have commented this stuff over the months, over the weeks, and over the days with this stuff considered, right? So I'm not targeting any specific person. So if you're taking offense or satisfaction from anything I'm saying, just understand I'm not trying to gear it towards you, whoever you are, if you're feeling that way. Anyways, they're next on the chopping block. And I think that's why, even in the midst of LTC having somewhat of a decent week, looking rather prosperous, looking optimistic even, right? Decent month, bullish engulfing week so far. Looking good on the weekly RSI. Even though it's up 14% this week, LTCN was down 19% this month, sorry. It was down 18% this week, right? I think the reason for that is 100% because of what happened with GSOL, because now the pressure's on. Now the added risk that was always here, because it's not an underlying asset, it's the derivative, that underlying risk has only gone up now, okay? Because you're next on the chopping block. You really are. LTCN or BCHG, I think it would make sense that either of them, if not both of them, simultaneously would get converted to ETFs. I don't think it would happen this cycle. That's my genuine prediction. That's my genuine expectation. My genuine gut feeling on the matter is that these won't get converted. But I think that's where the hesitation comes from. All this hesitation that's associated with this GSOL stuff is going to be forgotten about when you start doing what we're expecting it to do, right? You still have higher lows. Okay, a lot of volume came in here, but you still got higher lows. Okay, it was above average volume this week. Volume is picking up as you're moving down on the daily. So what we need to see is that you do maintain this low as a low. It'd be nice if you just turned around here and started moving up, and I think you could, especially with LTC moving up like this. Okay, I think that this move, again, is mainly from what's going on with GSOL, the reality that, you know, this happened with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana this cycle already, that all those premiums dissolved right to the NAV price. I think with ETH, it was on discount and it actually raised. I'm not 100% sure. I forget. Maybe I'm making that up. But I think that pressure, that reality of what's going on now, I think it's really hitting people in their risk versus reward management. I don't know. Whenever the price starts moving up, whenever this is but a bad dream for anybody who's not holding GSOL, I think people will forget about it, and the dream comes back alive, right? That we're going to see new relative highs here, that the ETF won't get approved this cycle, that, okay, premiums, they're not guaranteed, but they're more or less a safe expectation. I think as we move up, that reality will come back into play. I don't see LTCN moving down the rest of the cycle without an ETF being approved just because of this, right? I don't think that's going to happen. I think there's a little bit of fear in the market right now, and that timidness is holding the price back from growing right now, but only for a short amount of time. It can't hold it back for long, and I think inevitably it's just going to promote this thing to grow at an even faster rate here pretty soon, right? It's got to catch up now to what Litecoin's doing. So really, you're at 13.26. I think 27 to 31 bucks is your next target. I don't expect you to go lower. Personally, I don't expect you to, no. I don't like the weekly RSI rejecting the 50. I don't. But there's worse things, I suppose. The daily RSI doesn't look the worst, but it doesn't look the best. I don't like the lower low with the lower low here, but the overall kind of look is that of like a higher low scenario, right? And you're at the 40, an area where you could expect to find support. So hopefully you do. Hopefully you just move up. I think the goal for LTCN would be to not give up this low, right? You don't really even want to get closer to it than you are now, but just don't give that low up, right? Don't get below 1175, and just move higher. as of right now, the expected target is 27.66 to 31.43. That's the expected target. Okay. BCHG, I don't need to go over that as in depth, right? Same stuff stands with it for Sol, for G-Sol. And I want to be very clear again, guys. No hope. No hope. It's returning to NAV price. The only hopes that you have are that in time this will grow back, right? And it's not going to go back because the premium's going to increase. The premiums are going to return. That's gone now. It's gone forever, okay? Unless they decouple it from an ETF, which I doubt they do. Right? They allow these premiums so that whenever they file for an ETF, they can sell for way above what their trust is actually worth, and then just add more to that trust to help back the power of their ETF, maybe, is my thoughts. Or they cash out and they go to the Bahamas. I don't know. Whatever they do with that extra money. But I would bet a lot of this money was not from one whale, whatever that narrative is, right? Maybe a lot of it is from that one whale, but I bet a lot of this is from Grayscale themselves, right? The people who hold most of it, I bet it's from Grayscale themselves, right? That's my theory. I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know the books, but abandon hope. Abandon hope. I'm not saying that to be a dick. I'm just telling you reality. And unfortunately, and I'm one of these people, so I know that it's inevitable, right? I'm one of these people, but there will be people that are in denial. Even once it hits the NAV price, they're going to be in denial. They're going to think that this is just going to happen. It's going to take time for reality to set in, right? Unfortunately, there will be people like that. But at this point in time, for G-Sol, I keep trying to talk about BCHG, but we're going to talk about G-Sol. When I made my last video for Grayscale, I was saying that if you sold here at that like 130, 128 level, whatever it was, that would be a fine area, I think, to sell, to claim losses, and then in a month's time you can buy back, so you're avoiding the wash trade rule, right? Or abiding by it. Now that you're at 91 bucks, I don't think it'd be worth it to sell it here. You could sell it here, right? If you sold G-Sol here, you can claim the losses just as long as you don't buy back G-Sol itself or any other. I'm pretty sure you actually can't buy any other crypto-related trusts. Like, you can't just buy back. You can't sell and then buy back into something else. Even if it is a different stock, it can't be like a similar stock. I'm pretty sure. Like, I might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure. But if you're planning on selling this and then buying something else, that might be wise, as long as it's not like another Grayscale trust. Or maybe I'm making that up. Maybe that's not a rule at all. Maybe you can do that. But to my knowledge, I don't know. I don't think you can buy like assets, right? If you sell this, you can't buy like assets within a 31-day period to avoid the wash trading rule, right? If you want to claim losses, I think it's a bad time to do that. The time to do that was my last video or before then, right? Now I think if you sold in a month's time, you'll either be like at these prices or even higher than the current price you're at now, because I think Solana will continue to grow over the next month. If this returns to NAV price over the next couple days, which is like 73 to 76 bucks, over the month Solana grows, I could really see that by the time, if you were to sell and claim losses here, by the time you're eligible to buy it back, it could be at even higher prices. And if that's cool with you, because you're claiming the losses, great. Make the most out of the situation. Get your losses claimed. I think it's vital and important. But it's very, very important to remember that if you sell here and you're claiming losses, you don't buy back until like 30, 31 days, man. I think it's 31 days. You just gotta wait 31 calendar days, man. Because you already took a 74% loss. The most you can make out of it now is tax deductions for gains in other investments, right? That's what you can do for it, I think. Or if none of that sounds good, right? And none of this financial advice. I'm just telling you guys what I would do. Not telling you what to do, literally just telling you what I would do. I would probably, even at this, sell for losses. I just probably wouldn't buy back in. But if you don't want to do that, if you want to just kind of deer in the headlights it and hope for the best, I think that will work out as well. I think that you'll go a little bit lower, okay? You could even buy at this price. Probably a really good time to buy the G-Sol Trust at that point. And then over the rest of the cycle, I do believe it'll work its way up, not just like a majority of this way back. I think it'll give it all back, everything it lost. I even think it'll be at prices that are above $400 by the end of the cycle. I just don't think that you're going to see new all-time highs. You could. It depends on Solana itself, but again, if it's too much pressure, if it makes you cringe at like even looking at this and you just want to close your eyes and hope that it comes back to you, over the next year, it probably will, right? Like if that's what you want to do, it probably will. But if you want to make actions, I think the time for that is kind of past if you want to still maintain this trust itself. If you want to sell here and look elsewhere, you can claim the losses here and then look elsewhere. But again, just make sure that it's not that if you sell here and you buy a different trust, a different crypto Grayscale trust, that would upset the that would not abide by the wash rule. I think that wouldn't. So you could sell this and then buy a crypto. You could sell this and then buy Solana, I'm pretty sure, and then that wouldn't upset the wash rule at all. And you would still get your losses claimed. But I don't know. I'm not a tax professional, right? Look it up yourself. Make sure that you do that before you just trust my random stuff. So we went out of the order a little bit there. We skipped BCHG and ZCSH to talk about GSOL. I'm running over time, guys, but I'm having fun. I always like doing these Grayscale videos, man. It takes some time, but there's a lot to go over, right? There's a lot of things to consider. It's not just one chart. Normally you have several charts to consider. Pulling back to your 382, very bullish. Getting above your 236, yes, you've gotten back below it, but dude, just getting above it in itself does indicate to me that we're going to go higher. Same thing for BCHG, right? Bitcoin Cash itself, we look at BCH. Come here, let me see. What do we got here? BCH, there we go. What just happened? I don't know what just happened. Leaf, I just got your text, bro. Oh, okay, it's a bit. I'm gonna watch that. If you see this, I don't know. I got a crypto buddy, and dude, he sends me some funny stuff. Sorry, I'm getting all distracted. He's like my only crypto friend, man. Like I don't have, other than you guys, I don't have any other crypto friends. So I love all the shit that he sends me. I need to send him more stuff, man. He gives me the gold crypto culture stuff, and I'm just like, I'll hit him up for advice on life. I guess that's, I don't know. Anyways, enough about me. Enough about my personal shit. BCH is up 27% this week. Okay, a lot of that happened over the last couple days. Okay, like literally today and yesterday, right? Yesterday was Saturday, today is Sunday, so BCHG did not get a piece of that action at all, and it sold off, even though BCH itself was not really selling off this week. It did sell off probably because of GSOL, probably, right? That there's that uncertainty, that doubt, that whatever. People are going to get over that, right? Just like the Japanese thing. Like, do you guys remember this? Is it Nikkei? How do I spell it? N-I-K, is that it? Nikkei, Nikkei. Whenever this thing tanked, right? You guys remember that? It's like the whole world was coming to a shambles. Everybody in the news talked about it. Who's talked about it since it dropped? Like nobody, right? And the stock market's doing well, crypto's doing well, nobody gives a shit, right? This, I would compare it to the exact same thing. GSOL's dumping. It's putting BCHG and LTCN on the chopping block. They're hesitant to move up. But then the underlying assets break out and they move up, and then people just forget about the fear anyways. They're like, oh, right, price goes up. Cool. Who cares? It's the same potentially risky asset we've been investing in all along. An ETF could get approved any given day. But now that we're moving up, we can forget about the fact that Solana got its ETF filed and is looking to get approved. We can forget all about that and just focus on the gains, right? And hope and pray, and probably forget about hoping and praying that an ETF doesn't get approved or filed, seriously considered for BCH or LTC. I don't think it will, but that's the risk you run. And on top of that, you never know, guys. You never know. Other things can happen. We got the private placement sales that can come out. Grayscale can do that whenever they want. Share dilution, right? And then again, just they're human beings themselves. They could mismanage funds. I don't think they would. I don't know if they're good actors or bad actors, but I don't think that they would. I think that they're good business people, and I think that they're not trying to like screw themselves, right? By screwing you guys, but you never know, right? You're dealing with humans, so there's an added inherent risk. But again, I think that risk is more obvious now when you see things happening to GSOL, right? One of the more dominant Grayscale trusts of this cycle. When you see what's happening to it now, there's hesitation, but all that hesitation, all that fear, all that uncertainty is going to go away whenever you look at the price. You guys, next week, okay? Because 24 hours from now, it'll be early Monday morning, so it won't actually be. So tomorrow we still won't even have it. But assuming that we don't take a massive shit on BCH, and I don't think we will today or tomorrow, I would assume that BCHG is up like 20% just to start the week out. Like it's going to be nuts. It's going to be good, right? And if that's the truth for BCHG, probably expect the same for LTCN. But again, LTC hasn't really broken out yet. It looks like it wants to. It's getting frisky. BCHG got above your 236 after finding support on the 382. That to me validates the idea that you're going to move up to new relative highs anyways. But if that's not enough, weekly RSI got above the 50, got back below it. Right? Doesn't seem to matter. It seems that you found support just below the 50 several times actually back here. You're just below the 50 now. You even found it back here. So I'm not worried about it. Doesn't seem that you respect the weekly 50 too much. A little bit here, but not really throughout the rest of your time. Daily, really you're getting overbought, not getting oversold. That's a really strong look in itself, okay? And you are in this relative like figure it out area, and I think you're going to figure it out soon. Daily RSI, bullish structure overall, right? Higher lows, higher highs, nice little channel up. You're at the bottom of it. Boom, you're going to move up. And you're going to get into the overbought zone. That's where the magic happens. So, yes, exciting stuff ahead. So that, to me, validates enough that we are going to move up from here. We're probably not going to move lower from here. It's hilarious, man. I had some smartass and multiple smartasses, but, man, they are out on the prowl. You guys, it's hilarious every single time, right? You want me to tell you when the shitheads come out to talk the most shit in the chat, in the comments? It's at this price. It's at this price here. It's at this price here. But whenever we do this, they're nowhere to be found, right? You know what I mean? So it's just funny. I could be calling for the price to go up to 18 bucks by the end of the year or 25 bucks by the end of the year. It does this and then it does that inevitably, right? And I'm vindicated, but they'll talk all the shit they can down here. But they're nowhere to be found whenever I'm actually validated. But who cares about being right or wrong? Who cares about the shitheads? I actually hope, I want more haters because they're very dedicated fans. I actually need more haters, you guys. I appreciate all of you, the normal people who watch this stuff, but I need more haters, man. Haters are a good measure of success, like truthfully. I'm not being sarcastic on that. I don't want to go into it too much because I don't want to scare any haters away. They'll probably already be scared away at the idea of me talking about liking them, but they probably aren't watching this video this far in anyways. Hold on, guys. I gotta find my charger. Computer just went limp on me. Yeah, BCHG 7-11 right now. Your next move, I would expect, would probably be a higher high than this. So let's go to a relative expected fib area, 1276 to 1521. I like that 1521 golden extension right there. Previous areas of resistance right there, right? 1272 coming in, kind of right above here as well. Something significant, you know, somewhat significant. Going back on a daily, a little bit of resistance in that area there, a little bit of support in that area there. I don't know, a little bit of support in that area there. Something around here. You could go higher, you could, but I think 13 to 15 bucks, a little bit above 15 bucks could be expected. Yeah. And probably by the end of the year. Very likely by the end of the year, if not new relative highs to this, right? I don't know, man. Actually, like truthfully speaking, I think not just by the end of the year, but by the end of the month. I think by the end of the year you will be above here because I'm expecting big. If BCH is at new highs this cycle, BCHG, even with the share dilution that's happened over the months over this year, it'll be at new all-time highs too. So by the end of the year, yeah, I guess I would expect BCHG is more to like $30 to $60 range. It's at 7-11 now. Let's finish this bad boy up, man. C-Zar needs to go to bed. ZCSH, Zcash, Grayscale Trust. What a week, bro. You moved up so much just to have it all whittled away. How much did you move up there? That's a nice move. You moved up like 38%, 40%, dude. That's nice. And you gave it all back. What happened? Let's see. Let's look at it on a daily. Wow. It wasn't just like an hour thing either. It's almost like an abandoned baby. I would almost be scared of it if it wasn't for the fact that I think that this is primarily because of GSOL. Yeah, I think so. This day here being green, it's deceitful. It's really down 8%, right? So this day here is down 15%. It looks bigger than it actually is because you opened up so high, right? From open to close, you're actually down 22%. But it says 15% because it's based off of the prior day's close, right? I don't know. I'm giving you guys a lesson on things you probably already know. All I'm trying to say here is a lot of volume, but you didn't get a lower low. I'm not fazed by this at all. I think this move is just like BCHG and LTC, and I think it's being held back by the uncertainty, by the doubt that was casted because of GSOL. But I think once that fear is forgotten about, you'll see it move up, right? You'll see ZCSH move up, and probably when the underlying, look at the underlying assets pumping too, right? Yeah. And it actually hasn't pumped over the weekend, right? But I bet, I'm just saying, man, next week, if it's not next week, the week after, it's not going to take long for this GSOL ETF fears and uncertainty to pass, right? I don't even know why ZCSH is freaking out. I don't know why people are uncertain about this. I mean, maybe this one would be next on the chopping block, but I think it'd be BCH. You shouldn't be worried about this thing until BCHG or LTCN or both of them have ETFs filed, I would think. But what do I know, right? ZEC, Zcash itself looks to be moving up, right? And actually, you're at new relative highs for this cycle already, and you haven't moved up. I think this thing has some catching up to do, right? Just because it's moving down, just because this ZEC has moved up and this hasn't moved up that much, that doesn't mean that this is going to shit the bed and be broken. It just means it's delayed. Right? It can move fast when it wants to. Absolutely, it can. I think your next move, you're still on par, ZCSH, for a move that will take you to like 1426 to 2174, right? We take that 1272 area right there to the 1618 area right there. It's not perfect, but you can see previous areas of resistance back here, moving up to that area. That makes sense to me, right? Yeah, probably. Those are, I mean, from this high here, if you move up, those are your next areas to find resistance, and based on your fibs too, it makes sense. So yeah, 1426 to 2174. I would lean toward prices that are above $17 for your next area. You're still go for that. It's just when are you going to go? You had a little taste this week, but you didn't follow through with it, probably because of the GSOL stuff. I bet soon, man. I bet as this continues to progress forward, as this validates that it's not a fake out move and you're not just going to shit the bed from here, I think as it validates that this is an overall recovery and a retracement of this move up here, you're going to see this thing not just catch up, but blast off in comparison. I mean, you're at 428 now. We're talking, I really think you're going to see prices that are at $17 at a minimum, if not higher, by the end of the year for ZCSH. So good looks all around, right? Even for GSOL, as sad and tragic as it looks, I honestly think it'll be at prices probably around like 130 or higher by the end of the year if Solana keeps growing the way that it looks like it's going to grow, right? But again, I want you guys, for the G-Solers out there, it's not the same chart anymore. It's not this anymore. This was all pre-ETF stuff. Now this chart is this chart. But it doesn't look like this chart because this chart's still at a premium. Even at this huge 74% drop from last week, it's still at a premium. So until it catches up to where Solana is relative to the native asset value, which is at about 73 to 74 bucks. I haven't checked since yesterday, but I'm assuming it didn't move up too much. Until it catches up there, right? This chart's on its own essentially, but then it's just going to track this. It's going to track it to a T. That's what Ethereum did. That's what GBTC and ETH did before their ETFs were actually approved, but when they were filed and looking like they were getting approved, right? They tracked the price of the underlying asset very well. It won't even be an ETF, but it will be, essentially, right? I don't know. I got nothing else to say, guys. I hope you liked the video. If you did, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all for being here. I know I got off track a little bit here and there. Shout out to Leaf on that note. I'm going to watch that right now, my man, whatever it is. If it's good, some of the stuff that he sends me, I'll post in the Discord too. I hope I don't ever take credit. If I ever take credit for it, I'm not trying to take credit for your stuff, Leaf. I'm pretty sure I'll always be like, a friend sent me this or something like that. But if you want your credit, I'll give you credit too. I don't know. Anyways, I'll see you guys on the next one. Hit that like button, subscribe on your way out.